Thank you, and I appreciate the committee being here this morning at 8 o'clock on committee day. I know you've got a lot of other things you'd rather be doing, but we've got some very important business to take care of in the next few weeks. And but this morning, first on the agenda, I've asked the Attorney General's Office of Consumer Protection Division to come speak. Our committee has been getting lots of consumer bills, and many of you have asked about consumer issues and what the state can do and not do. And so I've asked them to come do a presentation this morning for us, just their responsibilities with that. So if you would take the mic here, the podium mic, and introduce yourselves, and it's all, y'all do it at the table. That's better. That's better. So thank you both for being here this morning. And I know at least one of you rearranged some schedules at the last minute to be here, so thank you.
No, thank you, Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about the Consumer Protection Division at the Attorney General's office. And let me get myself situated here. My name is Sean Conroy. I'm the Communications and Outreach Coordinator for the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. And I've started with the office back in 1997 when it was the Governor's Office of Consumer Affairs. In 2015, on paper, the General Assembly and Governor moved the Governor's Office of Consumer Affairs over to the Attorney General's office, where a vast majority of consumer protection agencies across the country are housed. And I'll let Jordan Watson introduce himself.
Yeah, good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jordan Watson. I'm the Director of Policy and External Affairs for the Attorney General's Office. Good to be with you.
And so I want to give an overview of what the office does, the services that we offer, and the help that we can provide to your constituents. The office created in 1975. The main law that we enforce is called the Georgia Fair Business Practices Act. And that deals with consumer transactions between a business and a consumer, not involving a government entity, we receive about 26 to 30,000 complaints a year. So we process those. Over the years, the General Assembly has introduced legislation almost every year, adding responsibilities, specific items that are violations of the Fair Business Practices Act. And we have had other responsibilities added on to the division. Georgia's lemon law, we enforce Georgia's new car lemon law that deals with new vehicles. It's basically a 2-year, 20,000 mile warranty that's provided to the car. You all expanded that in 2009. It used to be 1 year and 12,000 miles, but the legislature decided to expand that. It's a great consumer protection function that we administer. And any given year in repurchases and replacements of vehicles, it adds up to sometimes $25, $30 million a year. So it's an impactful law, and we think that's good for the consumer. We have a call center in the office that operates Monday through Friday, that we take calls from consumers. Our team processes the complaints that come in. We then decide if we need to open up a case. And how do we decide that? Is it in the public interest? Are a vast number of consumers being impacted? Is it a vulnerable population? The Fair Business Practices Act has language in it that talks about enhanced penalties for older adults and disabled adults. Is this adversely impacting our veterans? So we look at issues like that. Are we going to be able to make a difference? Is this a matter that we can resolve through mediation, or are we going to have to take enforcement action? Our enforcement action comes through the form of we can issue fines, $2,000 per violation. That can go up because there are, again, enhanced penalties for the older adults and disabled adults. We can file suit against a company. That brings additional penalties. Some examples of that, last year we realized several $1 million in a stem cell case. There was a stem cell organization that was offering products that were not scientifically proven to increase health. So people thought that they're going to get their knee fixed, and instead of getting surgery, for example. So they got the shot, and it turned out it didn't help them. So we have a settlement in which right around 500 individuals are going to get refunds. There's been a court order. That's one example of the work we do. I'd also talk about consumer education. We think that an educated consumer, if we can stop people from getting scammed in the first place, that's a big plus. And we do that. Our website, consumer.ga.gov, has a wealth of information on it, including a page that I'd point you to if you've ever have a constituent contact you saying, I just lost money in a scam. What do I do? Well, we have put together a list of if you've lost money in a wire transfer, who to contact, if it was a gift card, if it was one of the apps that you send money on, and it gives information about how to try to contact those organizations and claw back that money if possible. In addition, we have another website, Ask Consumer Ed. We take real questions from consumers, and our lawyers answer them. We then publish the questions and answers online and push that out. So please feel free to use that in any newsletters that you have. And I should also mention that we have a team of about 50 people. We have attorneys, investigators, and we're available if you have any questions that come up. And again, our website, consumer.ga.gov, and then the Ask Consumer Ed website. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the committee? I know there's a lot of scams going on out there. We're inundated with it in many places. A lot of consumer issues out there. So, thank you for what y'all do. I think I see one question. Representative Reese.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation this morning, and thank you for what you do to protect the people of Georgia. I wanted you, if you could, just talk a little bit more about the call center process, just in case people are watching online. What would they experience if they dial the number? What's to be expected? Sure. Can they call anonymously? Just that information.
Sure. We rely on the public to inform us of consumer complaints. That's what drives our case process. When we hear from Georgians that are having an issue with a business that potentially is acting unfairly or deceptively in the marketplace, the call center team will take that information. They'll often ask for the citizen to send more information to us. Is there a contract you signed? Is there an advertisement that you relied on to become involved in the transaction? We want to see that information. And a majority of our complaints now are coming in online at consumer.ga.gov. We have a web form that asks questions and helps guide the consumer to give us the information that we need to help make a determination of, is this a complaint that's just an isolated incident, or is it potentially impacting hundreds or thousands of Georgians? And is this an area that we need to provide more consumer education on? We do have two offerings, consumer guides that we've produced that have proven to be, especially our Georgia Consumer Protection Guide for older adults that's available online for download. We put this together in 2018. Attorney General Carr thought it was important that we do more consumer education for older adults and caregivers. And so we house focus groups with organizations like the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the AARP, about a dozen groups, and ask them, what do you want to see in a guide? What's important for older adults to know? And then we held focus groups with older adults themselves. So inside the guide, there's information about consumer scams, but there's also information in here about more criminal matters, such as elder abuse and where to get help on that. So information that might not normally be called a consumer issue, but we heard from experts and older adults that they needed to see this in a guide. We also have a guide called Cybersecurity in Georgia that's focused on small businesses, nonprofits, and places of worship that may not have an IT person on staff to help them make sure that they have the latest up-to-date software to protect themselves from a security breach. So this is a step-by-step guide about how to secure that information. And then we also put out, I'll mention too, I don't know if I mentioned, we put out consumer alerts when we see an issue that popped up. I'm sure that you may have received this yourself and seen in the news. Recently there have been text scams with Peach Pass. And we were speaking to a group of students yesterday from Georgia State University, about 30 of them, and I said, how many of you have received the Peach Pass scam? And literally like 90% of them raised their hands.
We received them too.
We received them too. And we also put that out on social media. We put it on the Attorney General's thought that was an important issue, so we put an alert out on the Facebook and the Twitter and try to get the word out there is like, don't click on these links. There are scam artists. These text messages originate typically in other countries, and there are. I read from some of the experts in the industry, there are about 10,000 domain names that have been registered recently. With that, the initial web page is the legitimate toll website, but then they add on characters, domain characters that would take you to a fraudulent website, and there they would ask you for your money and or financial information. So they're trying to get the word out before people lose money is important.
Well, thank you for this presentation. I see no more questions. I really appreciate you being here. Appreciate Attorney General Chris Carr for taking my call a couple of days ago.